You know, when we think about staying vital as we get older,
Hmm.
it's often about energy, maybe strength. But what if I told you the health of your arteries might be like central to things like libido, stamina,
Yeah.
even erectile function?
It's a fascinating connection. There's that old saying, right? A man is as old as his arteries.
Exactly. And today, that's what we're diving into. We're looking at how artery health really underpins male vitality, healthy libido, good stamina, and tackling ED by supporting nitric oxide.
Yeah, we've got some interesting sources lined up. There's a piece from Harvard Health on exercise, a PubMed study digging into endothelial function, and ED specifically, some info on Muirapuama, that traditional herb.
Right, the Amazonia one?
That's the one. And also details on specific ingredients that research suggests might help support libido, stamina, and crucially, nitric oxide production.
Okay, so our mission today is basically to pull out the key insights from all this, to help everyone understand how to, support these really important areas of health.
Let's start with the arteries themselves, because they're not just pipes, are they? That's the old view.
No, not at all. That idea is, well, pretty outdated. They're incredibly active, involved in regulating things constantly.
Exactly. Think about the structure. You've got 3 layers. The intima, that's the inner one, lined with endothelial cells. Then the media, with muscle and elastic fibers. And the outer layer, the adventitia, for support.
And it's those endothelial cells. They're the real players here, aren't they?
Absolutely key. I mean, the scale is just mind-blowing. If you laid them all out, they'd cover a football field.
A football field.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And way over 3 pounds altogether. It shows just how significant this internal lining really is.
Wow. Okay, so what are they actually doing, these endothelial cells, that impacts things like, energy and libido?
One of their most critical jobs is producing nitric oxide. This little molecule does 2 main things, both super important.
Okay, what are they? First, it keeps that inner lining really smooth and slippery. Think Teflon for your arteries. It stops inflammatory stuff and platelets sticking, preventing clots and inflammation.
Right, keeps things flowing smoothly, less friction, less trouble. Makes sense. What's the second thing?
The second thing is that nitric oxide tells the smooth muscle cells within the artery wall to relax.
Relax. Why is that important?
Because when those muscles relax, the artery opens up, it dilates. It prevents spasms and keeps the pathway clear and wide for blood flow.
Ah, okay. So healthy arteries need to be able to relax and open up properly.
Precisely. And that optimal blood flow, getting everywhere it needs to go efficiently, that's fundamental for energy, for stamina, and definitely for sexual function. Nitric oxide is like the gatekeeper for healthy blood flow.
Got it. So if blood flow is good, it supports all those areas we're talking about, libido, stamina.
Exactly. It all connects back, which brings us neatly to exercise, because the Harvard Health article really emphasizes this link.
Yeah, it does. It talks about how exercise makes muscles demand more oxygen, right?
Yeah.
And the body responds by actually growing new blood vessels.
Tiny ones, capillaries. It builds a denser network in the muscles. And what's really interesting is that the muscle cells themselves also get better at using the oxygen they receive.
So it's a double benefit. Better delivery and better use.
You got it. That's why regular exercise builds both endurance and strength. It's tuning up the whole system.
And it's not just for the young guns either. That Italian study they mentioned was interesting, comparing older exercisers and non-exercisers.
That was revealing. It showed that, endothelial function tends to decline a bit with age in everyone, but in the sedentary folks, the drop in function and nitric oxide production was much more pronounced.
But the exercisers...
The regular exercisers saw a much smaller, more gradual decline. Their arteries stayed functionally younger, you could say. Exercise helps preserve that vital nitric oxide production.
That's really positive news. But does it have to be super intense exercise, like those people at the study?
That's the great part, no. The Harvard article specifically says something like, just 2-3 miles of brisk walking nearly every day is a giant step in the right direction.
Okay, brisk walking. That feels manageable for a lot more people.
Definitely. And it seems you can start seeing benefits pretty quickly, even if you haven't been active. Remember that University of Colorado study?
Oh yeah, the one with the middle-aged guys, average age 53, who are sedentary.
That's the one. They put them on a walking program, and in just 3 months, Their endothelial function improved significantly. They basically caught up to guys who had been exercising long term.
Just from walking, that's pretty incredible. And it helps even if someone already has heart issues.
Yes, the article mentions similar benefits were seen even in patients with existing coronary artery disease. So movement is powerful medicine for your arteries, really at any stage.
Okay, clear link between exercise, artery health, nitric oxide. Now let's tackle erectile dysfunction, or ED. That PubMed study really focused on the endothelial connection here, didn't it?
It really did. It positions ED and vascular disease as being linked right at that endothelial level. The core idea is endothelial dysfunction.
Dysfunction,
Yeah.
meaning the lining isn't working properly.
Exactly. When the endothelium is dysfunctional, it can't properly signal those smooth muscle cells in the small arteries, the arterioles, to relax. And if they don't relax...
They can't widen. That's the vasodilatation part.
Precisely. Vasodilatation is hindered. Blood flow gets restricted because the pipes can't open up enough.
And for an erection, you absolutely need that widening, that increased blood flow.
Critically important. An erection relies on smooth muscle relaxation both in the penis tissue, the corpus cavernosum, and in the small arteries supplying it. If endothelial dysfunction stops those arteries from dilating properly, you've got a direct physical barrier to the process.
So the study compared men with ED to healthy controls. Did they find actual differences in how their arteries functioned?
Yes, they did. They took men with confirmed ED, but who were otherwise pretty similar to the healthy control group, similar BMI, blood pressure, cholesterol, etc. So these weren't men with obvious major cardiovascular disease yet.
Interesting. And the results?
They measured endothelial function using a standard test, brachial artery, flow-mediated vasodilatation, basically how much the artery widens in response to increased blood flow. They also tested the response to nitroglycerin, which directly causes relaxation.
And the ED group showed poorer function.
Significantly poorer, yes. Their flow-mediated dilation was much lower, about 6% increase in diameter compared to over 12% in the healthy group.
Wow, half as much response.
Pretty much. And the response to nitroglycerin was also lower, around 13% versus nearly 18% for the controls. It clearly showed their blood vessels were less able to relax and dilate even when prompted.
So the study basically concluded that this endothelial dysfunction is happening in men with ED, even without other big cardiovascular red flags.
That was the main takeaway. They suggested it points to an underlying issue in that whole nitric oxide signaling system, the nitric oxide cyclic guanosine monophosphate pathway, which is vital for vasodilation. It strongly suggests ED is often an early sign of this broader vascular endothelial problem.
Which means supporting that endothelial function could be key for addressing ED. Okay, let's pivot to some natural approaches. Miropoama came up the Amazonian herb. Tell us about that.
Right, Tecopedilum olicoides. It's got a long history in Brazil, traditionally used for lots of things, rheumatism, tummy troubles, even the flu. But its big reputation is as an aphrodisiac for sexual weakness.
Hence the nicknames like erection root and potency wood.
Exactly. Speaks volumes, doesn't it? And there has been some modern research looking into these traditional uses, particularly by Dr. Jacques Weinberg.
Yes, I saw that. He did a study with over 200 men. What did he find?
In that study, 262 men with low libido and impotence took a Miropoama extract. Within just 2 weeks, 62% reported a dynamic effect, better libido, and better erectile function. And over half of the men specifically wanting more erections found it helpful.
2 weeks is pretty quick. Did he do other research, something about sexual asthenia?
He did. Sexual asthenia is basically a loss of strength and libido. He studied 100 men with this condition. The results were quite striking.
Oh, so?
Well, big percentages reported improvements. 66% had more frequent intercourse, 70% felt increased libido, 55% regained erection stability during sex. Plus, 66% reported more physical energy, less fatigue, better sleep, even more morning erections.
That's a wide range of benefits. Was it helpful for everyone, though?
Interestingly, no. The research noted it seemed most effective for men without clear psychosomatic issues, meaning where the root cause wasn't primarily psychological. For those men, the success rates were even higher, like 85–90% improvement in libido and erection stability.
That's an important distinction. So it might be particularly useful when the issue is more physiological. Do we know how it might work? Any clues on the mechanism?
Still being researched, but a couple of ideas are floating around. One study in rabbits suggested it helps relax the smooth muscle in the penis itself, the corpus cavernosum, which would allow more blood flow in.
Ah, direct relaxation, like nitric oxide does.
Potentially similar outcome, yes. Another theory is that it might inhibit an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase. Blocking that enzyme could indirectly help blood vessels dilate, including in the genitals, so maybe multiple pathways contributing.
Okay, so Mirapuama seems like a promising traditional option with some science backing it up. Now, what about other ingredients? We saw that source mentioning U.S. scientists discover secret for stamina and virility.
Yes, that piece really hammered home the idea of the endothelium as this crucial switch. When it's on, you get good nitric oxide flow, supporting libido and everything else. But it can weaken with age, impacting blood flow, stamina, virility.
And it listed several specific ingredients thought to help support this endothelial function and NO production. Let's run through them. Vitamin E.
Mentioned as helping support healthy endothelial function and healthy libido levels.
Okay. Niacin, vitamin B3.
Also listed as supporting healthy endothelium function. Pretty straightforward.
Horny goat weed extract. That one pops up a lot.
Yeah, this source linked it to supporting endothelial function, energy levels, blood flow, and stamina. Some research suggests its active compound, icariin, might actually boost nitric oxide too.
Ah, another potential NO booster. Mirapuama powder was on the list too, fitting with what we just discussed.
Right, listed here for supporting libido, stamina, and latency.
Tribulus terrestris extract. What about that one?
This source made a pretty bold claim, a 78.1% increase in virility and stamina reported somewhere, and also suggested it supports nitric oxide function.
78.1% is very specific. Okay, Ternera diffusa leaf. That's Damiana, right?
Correct, also known as Damiana, said to help support stamina and libido.
And ginkgo biloba. Usually think of that from memory.
Here it was mentioned for helping fight endothelial oxidative stress. Protecting that lining from damage is key for keeping it healthy.
Makes sense. Lastly, oostraw powder.
Listed as supporting libido and performance, and interestingly, also linked to increased feelings of happiness, kind of a bonus benefit there.
So the overall idea from this source is that this combination of ingredients, they might work together to potentially help support a healthy libido.
Support healthy stamina.
And support adequate nitric oxide production, which we know is absolutely necessary for, well, ending erectile dysfunction.
Exactly. The concept is providing targeted nutritional support for that crucial endothelial lining, aiming to boost its natural nitric oxide production and maintain healthy blood flow. It's all about supporting the body's own mechanisms.
And for listeners who are thinking this sounds interesting and might want to look into these ingredients further, we should mention EndoPump.
Right. That product contains these ingredients we've just discussed.
Yeah, so if you want to find out more about EndoPump and see if it might be something you want to explore, we've put links in the description below this deep dive. You can check those out for more information and purchasing options.
Definitely worth looking into if supporting these areas, libido, stamina, healthy circulation, is a priority for you. The links have all the details.
So, wrapping things up, it really comes down to this powerful connection, doesn't it? Healthy arteries, good nitric oxide levels. They are just so fundamental for male vitality, for libido, for stamina, for erectile function. Supporting your endothelial health is a really key step.
It absolutely is. It's about looking after the foundation, the underlying system that supports so much else.
It definitely gives you food for thought, you know, like how much attention are you really paying to your circulatory health? And could focusing on it make a difference to how vibrant you feel overall? Maybe dig a bit deeper into nitric oxide, endothelial function, and see what resonates.
That's a great takeaway question. Empowering yourself with that knowledge is the first step. And then exploring potential support, maybe looking into those ingredients we talked about or checking out the EndoPump links in the description could be part of a proactive strategy for maintaining that vitality long term.